you transition from, and I don't want to say transition, but after The Wire, you got into the music business, and we all know the music business is a very challenging business, especially hip hop when you're doing rap. But for those who don't know, you actually are pushing an agenda with your music, and it's to stop bullying. And you also have a song that you did a video for called Mike Bullied, Stand Up. And if everybody go to YouTube and just type in Chaney anti-bullying song, it'll pop up, or you can just put in Mike Bullied Trey, and it'll pop up. Go to my Twitter right now. It's posted on my Twitter at Longino, and you definitely can watch the video. And I must say, normally when you hear actors who are not known for rapping first, you're a little bit like, okay, let's see what the song's about. But actually, I heard it. I was in my car, and I listened to it. And then when I got to the office, I watched the video, and I was like, wow, dude really got bars. Like, dude is not whack. He really got a message. He ain't cussing. He ain't talking about, the typical stuff you hear in rap music. And the video is a storytelling type. I mean, it gave a great visual aid of what your message was about. So I wanted to know, people need to know, what inspired you to get into music, and what inspired this agenda that you're pushing to stop bullying?
Yeah, well, it was always something that I had always done, since a young kid. So I guess with The Wire being such a huge show, and it gave me that platform to introduce that other talent, which was hip hop. I always say I wanted to separate the character that people seen, as Poot, and I wanted to introduce people to who Trey Chaney, the artist, was, but I wasn't going to do it in the same old type of way that you see other hip-hop artists do. Like some of the mainstream artists, we know the type of music that's out right now and what people are actually listening to. And I always said, man, I wanted to touch on issues that really affect today's society, because that's what, the people really need to hear, in my opinion. So the bullying song came about just because, from an experience of, watching the news and reading the newspaper, you see people, young people that's contemplating suicide or even, committing suicide. You hear about the stories of young kids not wanting to get up and go to school just because of how this bullying epidemic is affecting them. So, with me to get with my partner, the director, Lamar Tyler, who actually directed the video, I wanted to sort of like tell that story that not only affects, like some of the schools I go to, not only affects some of the kids in the schools, but this is a crisis that's going on in America. So it's kind of like they identify with the video, with this kid not wanting to get up, with this kid going through a whole day of, being bullied and, having to go home. You see the single mother, that's another issue about just fatherhood. That's a whole other subject. You don't see the father around. You see the mother, and it looks like she...
Yeah, you got a video. You got a video about fatherhood as well.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, so, but like with the bullying thing, you see the mother and struggling with bills, so that's telling you right there that this kid doesn't have, the name brand shoes or clothes. So, that could be a reason. But when it takes you through that, it also gives you the outcome of where this thing could go. You form some type of peer mediation. You talk to your parents. You talk to the guidance counselors. And, y'all are able to come together and, make peace. And usually they become friends. And that's, but, we all know it's two different outcomes, though. You know what I'm saying? Just to be real. That's one of the outcomes that I instill in the young people in the schools, just because you don't want to give them no negative vibe or no negative energy. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it was written and, the video was done and put out for that reason, to say, well, maybe this may touch one kid, but now it's becoming a big deal, and the funny thing is, man, I look at, and I read some of my tweets or whatever. I mean, I read all my tweets and all my messages that I get. And, you know, some people, you might catch, like, some people, some haters, like, yeah, you doing this because you're getting all this publicity. But, like I say, if you check how long I've been pursuing this kind of music, for the last 2 years, I'm just getting interviews on this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just getting people to, like, really pay attention to it. And even when you look on the video, it says, this video was shot a year ago. You know, so this wasn't just something that was done in a night. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Have you personally been affected by bullying? Is that kind of another reason that inspired the record, or you just saw a need for the kids to hear a message and how to handle it?
Well, I was affected, you know, in school, you know, probably like 5th grade through 8th grade, 9th grade, and I always shared that with my the kids that I go to when I'm on tour, and I actually was bullied, you know, just for being like the shortest kid in school, and I came from a very religious family, and my parents, they didn't allow me to, you know, do certain things like go out to the parties and stuff. My parents were strict. They focused on education, and they focused on, you know, they just focused on a wholesome life and putting God first, which nothing was wrong with that. So I do share that type of experience, you know what I'm saying, with the young people. So a part of that was kind of like affected, you know what I'm saying, a part of that was my story, and I was affected by that as well.
Now, we all know, you know, like you just said, you were affected. We all know about bullies, you know what I mean? Any kid that's been to school has run into a bully, has had a run-in with a bully here and there. But as we've grown into a social media society, do you feel like social media has made bullying more relevant?
You said as what made bullying more relevant?
Social media.
Oh yeah, of course, because now you have cyberbullying, and that's the issue that's getting talked about all across America. You know, cyberbullying now. These kids, you know, they got the access to the Instagrams, Twitter, Facebooks, and now I'm hearing about the Ask and the Kick. You know what I'm saying? And with these type of sites, you know, you could be an anonymous. You can go on there as an anonymous person and say whatever you want. You know, people don't really understand how this is really affecting our kids today and our generation. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it has become a problem. And the thing that I think that we do the most out here, the Maryland State Education Association, we formed a partnership of touring the whole state of Maryland, and it's just starting to get, you know, some, you know, people are starting to become interested at the National Education Association. And one thing we stress is it's cool to tell someone so you won't be affected by this in a bad way. Like a lot of people, you know, we talk about the whole snitch factor. A lot of young people like, man, I don't want to snitch, but people have to understand that this whole bullying epidemic is about power. So when somebody feels like they have the power over you, that becomes a problem, you know. I mean, and then I stress.
So what would you do? What kind of, if you could tell the kids right now,
right,
the procedure and the process that you feel they should take in handling the bully, what would that be? Because you all know when we was young, what they say, don't be tired telling you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ain't no telling. But you know, at the same time, kids are confused and they don't really know what to do and how to handle it. How should they handle?
The easiest way to share what they should do is to tell a caring adult. I mean, because now it's a little different. You know, we wasn't really hearing about this too much back in the day of kids jumping off of, you know, buildings and taking a gun, committing suicide because of being bullied. You know, so now, and that's because they're like, they held it in. You know, so holding it in, all it does is bring more stress. So you have to be able to go to your parents, especially when you're in the households of, you know, you got the internet. The parents have to step up as well to monitor what's going on that internet in their household. You know, I mean, for the kids in school, it has to be reported to an adult. You know, it has to be reported to an administrator. It has to be reported so it can be handled accordingly, because we don't want to keep on seeing our kids go through this and continue hearing about our young people losing their lives. I mean,
okay, now let me ask you this. Not to cut you off, let me ask you this. What about those kids who have told a teacher, who have went to the office, and nothing was really done to stop it? What should the kids do after that? Because there are some situations where kids go, well, I did that, and they really didn't do anything. So what do they do after that?
Yeah, and you know what? That's another thing that came up actually yesterday when I was in Salisbury, like near Ocean City at Salisbury Middle School, and that issue came up about, you know, if they told somebody, it has to get reported to higher authorities. We have to go. Now it's time to step in and get the police involved. I mean, because that's another thing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, somebody, when we say a caring adult, the kids, it's more kids that outnumbering some of these adults right now when we walk into these programs and when we walk into these schools. So we stress the point of just, if it's not working at the school, you got to go to another higher authority, you know. And usually, like when we say that, that's when, you know, we hear about the young people saying that in those type of cases, that usually works.
Well, I want to give the kids and the youth who will listen to hear this both types of scenarios. Because, you know, in all schools, we know this, in certain schools, you know, and throughout the United States of America, that they don't always take the same care
right
when a student has an issue. So at any point, if let's just say they've done all the right things. They went to the teacher, they didn't get no results. They went to the principal, they didn't get no results. They told the parents at home, or their mom, or their dad, or auntie, or grandmother at home, and they still feel like nothing is being done, and they're still being bullied. I don't want to. I don't promote violence, but do you feel at some point they might have to stand up for themselves physically in order to stop the bullying situation?
Well, definitely. I mean, it comes. I mean, and a lot of young people share that with us. That sometimes it comes down to that point. Now, if it comes down to that point, then that's what it came down to, you know. But at the same time, like, nobody can really control what happens. But like I can't stress it enough. It has to be like reported. You know, I mean, that's like the number one thing that we stress. Now, if it comes down to that point, there's no real answer to that if it gets physical, and then say it gets physical and then the problem is solved. I mean, but we're not promoting it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So now, how much of The Wire was a reality for you growing up, and that growing up, and that where the bullying situation kind of took place, and how did you handle it?
Well, my situation, like, I mean, of course we all know that Pooh from The Wire was a low-level drug dealer. I mean, he wasn't a leader. I mean, it was, you know, my character in it was, I portrayed the character, you know. I mean, it was fun just being an actor and acting in the show. But I mean, from me personally, I never had that problem of, you know, I wasn't a drug dealer, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't considered like a follower in school or anything of that nature. But when it came down to my situation of, say, you know, being bullied or having a case of being bullied, I thought, you know, like physical altercation was the best way to handle it. But it came down to a point where I figured it wasn't the right thing to do, because now I'm getting put out of school for 2-3 weeks, you know, at a time, and I'm missing out on my education. But then this is because I'm not going to nobody saying, oh, I'm being bullied. I'm just handling it on my own, you know, where if I probably would have told somebody, all of that could have been prevented. You know, I mean, it was the time in 12th grade, I wasn't even supposed to really graduate. I'm going to be honest with you. You know, like, they didn't think I was. you know, just because of the simple fact that I was going through all this in school. But once I, you know, pulled some of the higher, you know, the people in those type of positions out, I was like, you know, I went to principals, and, you know, my parents were at the school. My mom stayed at the school almost like every other week, just, you know, being that caring parent, trying to, you know, settle these type of issues that I was going through. So, I mean, I think that was a way that I overcame it, you know, and it eventually ended up, you know, it ended up working out. It's funny because I still see some of the bullies to this day. They used to bully me in school. I mean, we cool now. We old, you know what I'm saying? We old. But yeah, now it's just like, you know, they big fans of The Wire and stuff like that. I mean, you know, and I mean, like I said, everybody's older now. I got a 7-year-old son. You know what I'm saying? People got kids, man. So it's a little different, you know.
Trey Chaney right here live on the Talk with Todd show, bringing you the best in celebrity interviews. Yeah. Log on to the official website today at talkwithtodd.com. All right. Now, you, like your fellow castmate from The Wire, Mac Wilds, how did you make the transition from acting to music? Now, I know you said earlier that you've always been in, you know, writing and things of that nature. But how did you make the transition from acting to music?
Well, I mean, like I said, once I got time to really focus on what I wanted to talk about and some of these issues I wanted to speak about, you know, it was just a matter of getting with my production team, you know, Naughty Land Music, and we you know, we got our own studio, and so it's no excuse for us not to record, not to write, not to, you know, put out this type of energy that we putting out in music. And I just wanted to touch on too, you know, the curriculum, my EP that's on iTunes, it has those records, the Radical Readers, the Bullying, Dedicated Father, it has those records, but I also, you know, Hungry, Humble, Honest is like that Proof on the Wire meets Trey Chaney. That's what some of the headlines, that's how they're coming up. But at the same time, it's still great content. There's no profanity in my music whatsoever, you know what I'm saying? So I'm giving you like these type of stories. Like even when I put out the Be Yourself record, people don't understand. Like if you really go into detail of listening to a song like that, Be Yourself is like a brand. It's a culture. You know what I'm saying? Like if more people would just be themselves in the world today, this world would probably be like a better place. You know. So when I put out records like that, like people are just really starting to get it, you know. So it's cool. And even when I dropped Getting Money, I just dropped a record called Getting Money, but some of those headlines read Getting Money the legal way. We're not talking about me standing outside, you know, selling dope. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about me really going, hanging out with my friends around my neighborhood, chilling, you know, and really just uplifting people in this critical time to get some money. You know what I'm saying? And do it in a way where it's positive, you know.
Yeah, because you've been very active in your community. Where does that passion come from? Being from Maryland.
Man, just me, just knowing that I have a voice, man, out here in the world, and I know, and I know if I can just inspire one person, that does it for me. So, I mean, just because of the whole, you know, me playing who I was on The Wire and different things of that nature, it's like, man, why not go out here and give these people reality? And one thing I always say, since this show was such, like, made a huge impact on today's society, and it's being considered, you know, history, it's been considered a historical show, the only thing I can do is make history. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing that I can do. So it's that type of feel for me to get out as a, you know, a hip hop activist, a community leader, and say these are the type of issues that I'm gonna share with the world. You know what I'm saying?
You also, in your music, you also have another record that I was just playing it for my daughter earlier this evening. It's called Fatherhood. Talk about the song Fatherhood and kind of explain how important a father's role is to their child, whether they're a son or a daughter?
Man, I mean, fatherhood, that was another video. That video was done last year. We got 106 in Park. They called me for me to be a guest on it. You know you don't get just calls from BET like that.
Right.
Come on and premiere something that's positive, you know what I'm saying? So BET, for them to reach out, it was like, yo, this is I got something here. This is big. You know, so man, the importance of that record, man, I wanted to show generations of fathers, man. I wanted to show my son and my dad. You know, a lot of cats in the hip-hop industry and just period, you know, you hear cats saying, yo, my father wasn't in my life. And you know, some of the challenges that I had to face, you know, it really messed me up, you know. But I was fortunate not to have that happen, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to put that image out there saying, yo, it is fathers out here that's stepping up. And I'm one of them. You know, my dad is one of them. My grandfather's one of them. So why not put this out to society? And even with young girls and young boys, it's like, man, the effects of some of my friends right now from not having a father, that's where the inspiration came from to write this song saying, and it wasn't to bash fathers that's going through it with their, I guess they call it their baby mothers, or you know when you had a child and you're not with the mother no more. It wasn't to bash them. It was just to say, man, look, no, regardless of whatever you're going through with your child's mother, it's still at the end of the day, it's about that kid. You know, that kid needs you regardless. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
and I definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It was just the inspiration of saying it's time for men, it's time for fathers, it's time for us to step up, and we need to be there for our kids, we need to be there for our families, and we need to really, you know, inspire another gentleman, or, you know, just to step it up and say, look, man, our kids and our, you know, our wives, our families need us, you know?